As solo moms, we're not just juggling two or three things, we're juggling everything and trying to give equal weight to motherhood, business, healing, faith, friendships, and self care. It's exhausting. So let's stop chasing perfection and start creating a rhythm that honors your real life. Today, we're ditching the guilt, redefining what balance even means, and giving ourselves permission to breathe, pivot, and live in alignment, not pressure. Hey, hey, beautiful people. Welcome to the Solo Mama Show, where motherhood gets real, faith stays front and center, and we learn how to carry it all without carrying the shame. I'm your host, Marlene, solo mama of two amazing boys, woman of color, entrepreneur, and everyday miracle in motion, just like you. Around here, we honor the mess, the miracles, and the moments in between. So, whether you're tuning in from the school pickup line, folding laundry at midnight, or stealing 5 minutes in the bathroom, you found your safe space. Today's episode is for every mama who's ever asked, how do I balance it all? The honest answer, you don't. Because balance, at least the way the world defines it, doesn't exist. Let's talk about it. Mamas, it's time to ditch the unrealistic expectations. Society sells us this image of the balanced mom: perfect home, thriving business, happy kids, daily workouts, hot meals, and a full night's sleep. The reality check is that woman probably has help and she's probably still tired. As solo mamas, trying to do everything often leads to burnout, not joy. The first step is letting go of the idea that you can do it all at the same time. Trade the hustle mindset for an honest check in. What's working? What's not? What can wait? Because some seasons are about survival, not structure, and that's okay. When Jagger was a newborn, we were in our survival, not structure mode, right? I was, for the first time in a decade, because remember, my kids are almost 11 years apart, I was doing nightly feedings. I was sleep deprived because I had really, really bad postpartum anxiety. And my anxiety had me believing that if I fell asleep, Jagger would die. Now, I know it sounds super exaggerated and it sounds like, Marlene, you're insane. But hear me out. Jagger was born with obstructive sleep apnea. And so what that means is that I gave birth to a perfectly healthy baby. But then what felt like the moment I took him home, I'm pretty sure was happening in the hospital too, but you know, you're so delusional in the hospital and you have kind of have help. It was COVID, so not a lot of help, but my brother was in the room with me. Anyways, not the point of the story. But I bring him home and I start noticing that when he goes to sleep, he stops breathing, right? And I'm home alone with him at this point because, again, solo mama, right? And my 2 day old baby is like literally stopping breathing. And when he starts breathing again, it's like a like he's coming back to life, right? So my mind told me, with my postpartum anxiety being at 1,000, that if I go to sleep, it'll be while I'm sleeping that he'll stop breathing, but he'll forget to breathe again, right? Because what is he, 48 hours old? You know, they're still learning. Their body is still figuring things out. And that meant that I didn't sleep really for almost a year, to be honest. Maybe a small nap here and there, but not really, because when he napped, I stayed awake. And when he was awake, I was awake, right? Like I literally slept for like an hour at a time here and there throughout the day. And thank goodness for the few people who I was okay with having around. We had a nanny at that time who came a couple hours per day. Shout out to Sophie. She was also my doula. Actually, I'm going to plug her information in the description below, because if you are an expectant mama in the New York area, and sometimes she travels, I 100% recommend her. But anyway, so she was my doula and then turned into infant care for us for a little bit. So literally I would sleep when she came over. My good childhood friend, Nadej, was a very big part of that also. She would literally come and like wash Jagger's clothes by hand because I didn't want to wash his clothes, in the laundry, make food for Ethan, watch the kids so I could literally take a shower and take a nap because I was not sleeping. But imagine, I also have a 10-year-old who still has to wake up, get ready for school, be fed, try to keep some semblance of a schedule. He was remote learning at that time because New York allowed even after that following school year. So everything shut down in March of 2020 because of COVID, and all of the kids were automatically remote. It wasn't an option. Then in September, when school was restarting, they gave parents the option. Your kid could be in person or your kid could be remote. Thank goodness for that, because if we had to do in person, where I actually had to take Jagger, put him in the car, go out, and it was snow and it was cold and it was this and it was all of these things, I don't think we would have survived that period. We would not have survived that period. So thank goodness for remote learning. So that at least meant that we could stay home. But I still had to be aware, right? I had to wake the 10-year-old. I had to give him something to eat while he was there, still give him lunch, still give him dinner, still figure out, try to do a feeding schedule. Didn't work. Try to pump in between. We weren't doing a lot of that. My body made just enough for Jagger to eat. So if I tried to pump in between feedings, by the time he was hungry again, I would either be giving him what I just pumped because there wasn't enough milk, or if I was trying to hold on to that because I was trying to build a stash, he would just be frustrated. I would just be frustrated because there wasn't enough in there. Anyways, that's not the point of the story. But the point of the story is trying to balance everything, trying to do it all, trying to also, the snapback culture. So let me try to get some crunches in, or whatever it is that we tell ourselves we have to do. You will run yourself ragged. You will run yourself into the ground, literally trying to do it all. Your body will shut down on you if you don't give it a moment to rest, a moment to recalibrate, a moment to just kind of just be still, right? And so when we feel like we have to do it, we have to do it. And granted, if we don't, who else is going to, right? If I don't cook dinner, who else is going to? If I don't clean the house, who else is going to? If I don't get him to his basketball practice, who else is going to? If I don't get him to swim, who else is going to? There is all of that. That's kind of that pressure that's put on you, that's put on you, that's put on you. But you can't go that way forever. What are we going to do? Do it for 18 years? Right? Your body will shut down long before that. So the reality of it is sometimes we have to take a really, really honest check in and say, what can I take off my plate? Right? What does not actually require me? What is not required, right? What in this season do we not need to do? What can we put a pause on? And I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Right now, I'm in the season of I don't feel like cooking. I think I said this in another one of our episodes where that is the only thing that I can take off my plate. And thank goodness for Uber Eats, and thank goodness for Instacart, and things like Walmart Plus, where the few things that I trust somebody else to shop for me shows up at the door. The few times that, I'll go to the grocery store a couple times a week to pick up like fresh produce and stuff. But otherwise, like those are the things that at this point I've decided that don't require me. The kids are fed good, healthy meals. I'm not ordering McDonald's every day. And nothing against the mama who does. You do what you need to do to get survive with you and your family. I just personally haven't eaten McDonald's since I was like 16. And I've never bought it for Ethan or Jagger. Now, I do know Ethan eats it now because he's older and he makes his own decisions. And sometimes he goes to like McDonald's with his friends or whatever. But that's not the point. The point is that I still make sure to find healthier options that are in our neighborhood. Still, I mean, like I'm ordering Jamaican food, so they're still getting like rice and meat or whatever, or the Thai food, so they're still getting, they're getting pasta and whatever. So it's not like a bunch of burgers and chicken nuggets and stuff like that. But that is what I have decided in this season is the one thing that I can remove off my plate. Housekeeping could be one of them, but if you watch my content on my Instagram page, you know that I'm very particular. I like things a certain way. And I've tried different people in the past, and no one cleans my house the way I like my house to be cleaned. So rather than pay someone and then I'm gonna come right behind them and do it the right way. That's not an expense that I find value in at the moment. But I find value in food delivery. So that is off my plate. And that's actually been a major release for my entire family, because instead of having to be like, okay, well, it takes 2 hours to make dinner. I have to be home by 4:30 so that they can eat by 6:30 so that they can be showered by this time or whatever. I don't have to do all of that, because if we have gymnastics, on the other side of town, I order food on the way home from gymnastics. It meets us at the door. Everyone eats and everyone's happy, right? That stress of, okay, what are we eating today? Did I take the meat out of the oven? Not the oven. See how stressed I am. I don't even make sense. Did I take it out of the freezer? Actually, dang, I went to go cook something and the ingredient I thought that I had, we didn't have, or whatever. I have released myself of the shackles of thinking that I must cook 24/7. Now, don't get me wrong. Your girl does know how to cook. And at one point, it was therapeutic for me. I loved it. The boys even did it with me. Again, you can check my Instagram page. I have a highlight called Food, I think, that shows some of the, a couple of the ones that I made reels about or whatever. So it's not that I don't know how to, it's just that in this season right now, that is not my priority. It's not. um I can't tag in a chauffeur, right? So that I will do, I pick up, I drop off, I bring to friends' houses, I take to extracurricular activities, I do all of that. There's no one else paying for anything, so I have to be the provider. That I cannot and I won't ever be able to take off of my plate, right? That is 100% my responsibility. So those are things that I cannot take off of my plate. I am still their doctor, right? Their caregiver. That is not something I can take off of my plate, but food is, and sometimes grocery shopping. So that's what we do. Find the thing, mom, that does not require you, or the thing that in this season is not required at all. Maybe in this season, there is no time for anybody to do extracurricular activities. Maybe because I need to pick up an extra side gig, or I'm just exhausted, or you're not that good at that sport anyways. We don't tell them that. We don't tell them that, of course. But in this season, maybe that's too much, and maybe that's the one thing you can take off your plate. Your 5-year-old doesn't have to go to baseball practice. Now the 15-year-old might, when they're in high school, things are a little bit different, even in middle school. But your toddler, your preschooler, they could miss a season of soccer. They're not going to be messy this year. Lionel Messi had years of practice, and if they miss a season, they'll miss a season. Is that what you need to take off your plate? Do it. Because what we don't want you to take off your plate is your workouts, if you need that, because that you need, that is your health. Because if nothing else, mamas, if we don't take care of our bodies and our bodies shut down, who's going to take care of these kids? That's how I think about it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't usually talk about this out loud, but I'm 120 pounds. Okay, I am not a big girl. I wear an extra small and extra extra small sometimes, and I wear a 00 at most stores that have it. I don't go to the gym because I need to. Not in the traditional what people think about when they go to the gym. I go to the gym because I need to live as long as I possibly can. If anything happens to me, my children are orphans. One is actually an orphan, and one might as well be, right? And the thing that keeps me up at night the most is what happens to them if something happens to me. So I do my best to find the time to, if it's what, even if it's just a walk. If I can't make it all the way to the gym because the gym is 15 minutes away, and then if I have to work out even for just a half an hour, by the time I come back, I lost an hour, right? But if I walk around the neighborhood real quick for half an hour, that was it. A half an hour, I'm back. Sometimes that's all I got, but I can't take that off my plate. That is necessary, right? I can't take working off of my plate. That is absolutely necessary. Who's gonna pay for this house? Who want to pay for the car that chauffeurs them back and forth? And if I still lived in New York, I might be like, maybe I can do without a car. We have an amazing public transit system in New York. I'm not a fan because I don't like other people in their dirt. But it's possible. Out here, we live in the suburbs of Houston. There is no, there is no bus over here. I don't think I've ever seen it. There's no bus. No, there isn't, because I haven't even seen a bus stop. In Houston, maybe, but not all the way out here. So, anyways, Mama, what is that thing? Tell me down below, actually, what is that thing that if you had to list all of the things that you do on a daily basis, all of the things that require you, all of the things the kids needs, what is the thing that, and list it in order of priority from 1 to 100, because we know I was going to say 1 to 10, but we know it's not just 10 things. What is 90 through 100 that you can say either it don't got to get done now or it don't got to get done at all? And that's as close to balance as we're going to get. And I'm not saying that it has to be like that forever. Survival mode is not something that we want to stay in forever. Because I have removed that one thing off of my plate, we are in a season of structure right now. Everyone knows where they're supposed to be at all times, right? Granted, it's summer, so the big one isn't in school. There's no camps for kids his age, and he's not old enough to work yet. We're in that weird middle where there's really nothing for him to do. So he has no structure in his day. If he wakes up at noon, he wakes up at 2, he wakes up at 5, I don't even know, right? But for the most part, we're not in survival mode right now, and I really honestly feel like it's because one of the biggest things, which is feeding them, can't get rid of that, has been taken off of my plate. And even on the weekends and on the days that they're here, if I have to make a quick breakfast, then we'll do that. Jagger likes pancakes, so we keep frozen ones in the freezer. He only eats 3 things, so that's easy enough. The big one never wakes up in time for breakfast anyways, so removing that thing almost felt like I gained 10% of my energy back, right? It gave me the opportunity to be able to focus on other things. The only thing I got to do is figure out which restaurant from Uber Eats are we eating from today, right? And then I order it. I wait the 30 to 45 minutes because living in the suburbs means that sometimes the restaurants are a little bit further, and the food shows up. They eat on paper plates so that I don't have dishes to wash, and we go about our night. Everyone is happy, right? Find that thing for you and your family. It might not be food. It might not be food. Your kids might be in a stage where you're still making their food because maybe they're new babies, right? And we can't exactly order jerk chicken from the Jamaican restaurant for them to eat. So maybe it's not that, but maybe you are okay with someone else cleaning your home, and it doesn't have to be weekly. It could be quarterly. Someone comes in and does a deep clean. It can be monthly, where all the major things are touched and you just kind of have to maintain throughout the day, but it's not a major thing. Maybe laundry is that thing. Outsource the laundry. Most I see a lot. I don't know about the area that you're in, but even like a bunch of lawn signs have been popping up in my area about laundry services that will literally come pick up, do the laundry, and drop it back off. And it's not always laundromats. There are individual people who are doing that now. Dang, I can't think of the name of the app now, but there's an app. There's an app for everything, but there's an app for that where you can schedule a laundry pickup. Now, is that for everyone? No, not necessarily for me. Again, I'm a very particular person. I like my laundry done a very specific way. Um, and something about somebody else doing it outside of my home just doesn't sit well with me. But that's me, right? I'm particular. That's I was gonna call myself weird, but maybe I am a little weird. It doesn't matter. But maybe that's something that you don't mind. And if you do a little bit of research and you look into the app and you see who's charging what, it might actually be more affordable than you think. Even if it's just the kids' clothes, right? We live in leggings and t-shirts most of the time anyways, but they're the ones in school and getting dirty and in daycare and whatever else. So even if it's just the kids' clothes, even if it's every 2 weeks, you know, find that thing that you can outsource, or that thing that you can remove off of your plate, or that thing that maybe the one person who you have that you can lean on can help you with. Take that and run with it. And that will probably give you the structure that we are craving, that we need, so that we can kind of breathe a little bit and keep going just another day. Keep going just another day. Now we have 2 days, now we have 3 days, and we're just living day by day, yes. But that's what everyone's life is like, right? Not tomorrow is not promised. The Lord never said exactly how much time. I mean, He knows, but we don't know exactly how much time we have here. So it is a day-to-day thing, and take it that way. And every day that you go through and you are able to keep your sanity, and continue to parent these children in the best way that you can, that's a check. That is a win. And that is us again surviving. So let's talk about what naming your priorities look like, right? Because in this season right now, if you named your priorities, just your priorities, and we're not striving for perfection, what does that look like? Because we can't prioritize everything, and you really shouldn't have to. No one, even people with partners and staff and whatever else, that they everything is not a priority. So let's go ahead and identify that, and let's maybe just figure out what are the three top most important things for this week. And it doesn't have to be forever, like we said before. It can be just right now. And maybe it's getting your toddler on a better sleep routine. That can work wonders. And I'll tell you that from experience. We'll get to that in a second. Maybe it'll be finishing that client's project, that you have been stalling, or technically it's not the deadline yet, so you've been procrastinating. Maybe getting that off of your plate, right? Because even though you're not actively working on it, if you're anything like me, the fact that that it's still due kind of lingers in the back of your mind, and it kind of keeps it's like a stalemate. You're not working on it, but it's keeping you from being productive someplace else. So get it off your plate. Or maybe it's just remembering to eat something that doesn't include your toddler's leftovers, right? Like, you want to let your priorities guide where your energy goes, not the pressure of social media or society or whatever else, right? And your priorities can change weekly. That's okay. Flexibility is not failure. It's actually wise, right? Our day to day is not always going to be the same. This week's priority might be, okay, I need to potty train this 2.5-year-old. Because one thing I do know for certain, if your child is in childcare, most of these schools don't let them move into a certain classroom or to a certain level if they're not potty trained before they're 3, right? So it's like, dang, his 3rd birthday is in 2 weeks. We need to figure this out. Maybe that's the priority for this week and next week, right? And then next week, it's okay. We've potty trained during the day. Let's see if we can do some sleep training also, right? What this it's fluid, it's moving, and that makes sense. Nothing in life, if you're stagnant, if your week looks the same every single time, if your priorities are exactly the same every single time, then we need to reevaluate that anyways, right? Because then that just doesn't make sense. I want us to do a little bit of self-reflection. I need us to ask ourselves, what matters most to me in this season, and what am I holding on to out of like guilt or comparison? Because comparison is the death of joy. It's a death of happiness. It's a death of success. Because if there's always going to be someone who it looks like they're doing a little better, or they're making a little bit more, or their kids are more adjusted. And every time you compare yourself to person A, when you reach the same level as person A, are you now satisfied, or are now you looking for person B? The only person that you should be comparing yourself to is the mama you were a month ago. How are you doing better? How have you progressed? How have you learned something new that helps you and your children, right? So let's reflect on that this week. Let's just figure out in this season, what can I let go of? What actually matters? And what can I prioritize? We want to get into a place where we're letting grace lead your schedule, because grace says you're not a machine. You're a mama. You're doing heavy, holy, sacred work, right? And when we lead with grace and we give ourselves the opportunity to be okay with where we are, some of that pressure is relieved, right? One of the things that we can work on is maybe build in breathing room. And that sounds crazy that you might actually have to schedule in your breathing room, but do that, right? Maybe you leave space in between tasks. Instead of your schedule being from 3 o'clock to 3:10, I have to do this. And then at 3:10 to 3:25, I have to do this. Maybe from 3:10 to 3:15, I do nothing, right? Maybe you buffer your mornings. And that's not for everybody. I know that. I know some of our corporate mamas, some of our mamas with like clock in, clock out jobs, it's not always possible in the mornings. In the mornings we're all in survival mode, right? But And I'm not saying to be a 5 a.m. baddie also, if that's not realistic for your day. But maybe if we can wake up 20 minutes earlier, even 10 minutes earlier, that means that in between getting yourself ready, you might have 5 minutes at this point to breathe before I wake up. The first kid. And then because I gave myself 10 or 15 extra minutes at the very beginning of the day, that means that at the end, when everyone is rushing to find shoes because their shoes are never where we thought they left them, right? Or find the other pair of their sock, or the lunch bag that I know I packed yesterday and now all of a sudden disappeared. I actually have I actually have an extra 5 minutes, right? Where I don't have to be the aggressive mom. Where's your stuff? Why are we not out the door? I can breathe because I buffered my morning. And again, this is not blanket advice. This is not going to work for everybody. This is for a specific mama. Or maybe you can take what works for you and figure out how to make that happen, right? Or maybe we are still rushing through that morning because that 15 minutes that I woke up, that was so that I can stop by Starbucks or stop by Chick-fil-A, or I'm a Dunkin' girl. There's not a lot of Dunkin' Donuts in Texas. Well, in Houston, I haven't seen too many. But I'm also not a coffee drinker, so that's besides the point. But maybe that 15 minutes is the 15 minutes that you need to be able to go and get yourself a little snack, a little reward, a little something sweet to start your day, right? It might not have nothing to do with them kids. We might not want to spend that 5 minute buffer with them. Get them out the door, get them to camp, get them to school, get them to daycare, get them to wherever they need to go, and now you have 15 minutes, even if it was just to get to work a little bit early and just sit in the car. We know that there is something therapeutic about sitting in that car for extra 5-10 minutes, whether it's in your driveway, whether it's at the parking lot at work, whether it's wherever you may be. But that buffer, that even 10 minutes that you gave yourself, that could be all you needed to just take a second, breathe, recalibrate, and then jump right back into the hustle, right? And we want to try to create routines, not like rigid rules, because routines support you and grace will continue to sustain you, right? But if we have rigid rules and rigid schedules and rigid lifestyles and you don't give yourself literally any breathing room, it's a recipe for disaster, and it's emotionally pressure to be perfect, right? Because you didn't give yourself any wiggle room. But if we create a routine, more so like, okay, the kids know in the morning, this is what we do. Not so much at this time and this time, and we have 10 minutes to do this and 3 minutes to do that and 1.2 seconds to get this done. But the kids know, okay, I wake up. Um, for instance, actually, I'll give you guys a perfect example. Jagger has finally fell into his own little morning routine, and all of that depends on me getting him to bed on time the night before. But Jagger's routine is the same every single day. Jagger wakes himself up. His body naturally wakes up sometime between 6:30 and 7, and he'll come out of his bed. He'll walk into my room or wherever I might have fallen asleep, because sometimes I don't make it off the couch. My couch is actually very comfortable. Um, and he'll crawl into wherever I'm at, give me a big hug, say, good morning, mama. I say, good morning. I love you, mama. I love you too. Pleasantries are over. I'm hungry. Okay, buddy, what do you want for breakfast? Sometimes it's yogurt, sometimes it's pancakes. That is his routine, right? And while I'm making whatever it is or getting it ready, he'll go into the bathroom, he'll pee, he'll wash his hands, and he meets me in the kitchen. Now, after he's eaten, now it's time to get ready for school. Now we're back upstairs, we're brushing our teeth, we're washing our face, we're getting dressed, we're doing all the things, right? And then now we pack the snack because he likes to be involved in that. Sometimes I can convince him to do it the night before, but he's convinced it has to be done while he's going, right before he goes to school. He has his routine. Then we move towards the door. We put our shoes on. We get in. We buckle ourselves up. That is his routine. And he works very well with that, right? Because he'll also wake up and he say, Mama, is today Tuesday or is today Wednesday? That's because he knows that there are specific things that happens at his school on specific days, right? So right now it's summertime. So on Wednesdays and Fridays, they have splash pad. And so he'll ask me the night before, Mama, is tomorrow Wednesday? I'll say yes. Okay, good. Am I doing splash pad? He's also used to some days I say, you know what, we don't need to get wet at school and then run into the AC. He's had this perpetual cough or whatever. So I'll pick and choose. And he'll say, Mama, are we doing splash pad tomorrow? And I'll say yes or no. Then he knows what what to look forward to. Right? Kids thrive on routine. And routine again doesn't mean like every moment of their day is scheduled. It just means that there is a pattern to their day. There is a expectation of, okay, at least this thing gets done, right? We know that on Tuesdays we go to gymnastics, so he'll ask, Mama, what day is today? Today is Tuesday. Okay, so Tuesday means at school this is happening, but then Mama's going to come pick me up and then we're going to go here. We know that, right? Because that is the routine that he is now used to. The older one during the school year has a routine as well. Over the summer, because his school year is so rigid, we have a lot of wiggle room. His day looks different every time. Um, Sometimes he go hangs out at his friend's house. Sometimes he's home all day. Sometimes he hangs out with his uncle. Most times he's home most of the day. But that's because during the week, the school year, he wakes up at 5 a.m. every morning because he has to leave the house at 6:10 to catch the bus, right? And then he gets home between 3:30 and 3:45. But then he has things he has to do at home. He has routine at home. You know, you come in, if you have work to do, you do that. You do your chores, we eat dinner, and whatever else. There is a routine. Kids need that, and actually, that feeds into their adult life. But we'll get into that, a different topic for a different day, right? So, like, grace also can sometimes means just saying no or not right now without having to explain yourself, right? You don't owe a no is a complete sentence. That is something that we have learned, right? And giving yourself grace sometimes means that you can't do it. um all the kids seem to be born around the same time of year. I might have to say no to a birthday party. I'm giving myself grace because the last 2 weeks, we've every Saturday we've been at somebody's birthday party. This Saturday it might have to be a no, right? I don't even know them kids like that, but here I am spending money and bringing gifts. And meanwhile, my kid has never had a party that had to invite people to. Let's circle back. Let's circle back. But you always want to also, and you know, because we always want to bring it back to this. You always want to invite God into your time, right? Pray over your planner. Ask for divine intervention that realigns you with your purpose, whatever it is. Pray for patience. You know, just find you bringing him into it, for me at least, brings a level of calm. You know that there is somebody, something bigger and greater that has got you, right? And everything always seems to work out the way that it needs to. You know, if you keep them involved in your plans, and things always, even the small things, the smallest things always fall into place when we remember to bring him into it. And you might not have a physical planner, but pray over your day, you know. And I do this thing now where I just ask for traveling mercies for the whole day, right? I Sometimes I'm getting in and going, and I'm running, and we're ripping and running, we're going here and we're going there. And so I might have forgotten to ask for traveling mercies on this particular leg of the trip. But Lord, cover us for the day. And when my child is not with me, whoever's car that he's in or wherever, he's biking around or whatever, cover him as well. And you bring him into your day, you bring him into your meetings, you bring him into, the extracurricular activities. You pray over your day, you pray over your planner, you pray over your schedule, and you allow him to align you, right? And we allow him to do what he does for us, which is to bring us peace and calm and understanding. Balance is a buzzword that leaves too many moms feeling like we're behind. But alignment, that's where the power is. When your days reflect your real values and not someone else's timeline, you're no longer chasing balance. You're living in purpose. You may not always feel like you're caught up, but if you're doing what matters most, Mama, you're right on time, right? So we want to let go of that word, let go of that myth, and find what it means to you. Redefine it. right? Redefine it and make it your what does that, how does it fit into your reality, your real life, your real children, your real struggles, your real happiness? What does balance look like for you? Not what does balance, what, the perfect socialite mom told me on social media, or not what society told me that it was supposed to look like, not what even my own idea prior to becoming a mother, what I thought that that was supposed to be or what that was supposed to look like. Let go of that. Let go of that. Reflect on what your actual life looks like and find what balance means to you and your kiddos. Our closing verse for today is Proverbs 3, verse 6. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. If this episode helped you breathe a little bit deeper, subscribe for more grace filled encouragement every week. And share this with another mama who needs the reminder you don't need to balance it all. You just need to trust the one who holds it all. Thanks for tuning in to the Solo Mama Show. As always, keep your crown high to snack stocked, and I'll see you next week. Follow, share, and stay lifted, mamas. Love you. Bye.